It's good to see everyone. And Larry and I have just been speaking while we're waiting around. You can see he's in Joburg by how he's dressed, and I'm in Cape Town post-flood, trying to keep warm even when the sun is out in Cape Town. It's not actually out. But it's really good to see everybody. And as I said to Larry, I'll just keep admitting people as they come along. And of course, there's always been people who've been like, oh, I have to go into a meeting. Please record it for me. So there are some people and we will be recording. So hello, Morena. Thank you for your hello in the chat box. And so please do feel free to chat to one another in the chat box. Hello, Yolanda. And it's really good to see all of you today. I'm especially excited because we were in the UK for 5 weeks and I missed everyone and I missed our monthly chat. So I'm really excited to be back. And I'm really excited that Larry has agreed to chat to us today because he is somebody who really stands out as someone who's been able to retain top talent in their organization. And I found that in my training workshops, more and more clients globally are concerned not just with attracting top talent, not just selecting top talent, but more clients have been saying to me, Jane, we're concerned about how to retain top talent, both here in South Africa and across the world. And we've been looking at things like leadership style, by the candidate experience. I mean, just so many things that impact that. And so as we're talking to Larry today, who is one of the founding members of Blue Label, which started in 2003, and I'll let him talk more about that just now. We're very excited to speak to him because he has vast experience in call center and data-related products, specialized in acquisitions and strategic growth plans. And as executive chairman of Blue Label Data Solutions, he's really encouraged and fostered an entrepreneurial style of leadership in the organization. And I think something that I love about it is he's managed to do that entrepreneurial side and as well allow people to be so connected that they really want to stay for the long term. And so he's seen a lot of people really building their careers there over many years, which is what many organizations really want to see. So as is the way we normally do things, is I see that everybody has joined and you have remained on mute, which is wonderful. So please do remain on mute while I ask Larry a few questions. And thank you once again, Larry, for sharing with us. And then afterwards, we'll unmute and you'll have a chance to please share your thoughts or ask Larry any other questions you have. For those of you who don't know me, I think most of you do by now, but I'm Jane Moores from Out of Box Thinking, and I spend most of my time training companies on how to attract, select, and retain top talent for their organizations, and also give confidence to people to succeed in interviews. So Larry, over to you. You are the reason we're here today. We're so excited. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Joburg, and you can see he's a rugby fan. He shared that he's going there for the final games. So Larry,
Cool.
please share from your side.
Sure. So Jane, thanks for that, and good afternoon to everyone. It's an honor and privilege that I was asked to come and chat to all of you. So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. I think if I can just give you a little bit of a background to Blue Label Telecoms and how we started, it will give you a little bit of context to some of the questions that I answered just now, because they might be answered in a slightly different way. So what happened was I was pretty fortunate that I grew up with two of my best friends named Brett Levy and Mark Levy. We actually grew up together. I was a squash player. We used to play squash together. And they both came from very, very simple backgrounds. In actual fact, they were born about an hour and a half out of Johannesburg in a little town called Delmos on a farm. So they were very simple, basic people. You can take it from me, they came from absolutely nothing. It's actually an interesting story, but when Brett was 4, Mark was 6. Unfortunately, they lost their father. Their father died of a heart attack suddenly. What happened was their mother ended up getting remarried. They became very close to their stepfather when they were age 16 and 18. Their stepfather passed away. Then they had a sister who I was obviously also very close to. She was pretty overweight, and she went in, to go and have that stomach reduction. She went in for the operation when they were at that stage 21 and 23. She never came out of the operation. And the reason why I'm telling you this is when you hear the story, it's not just two guys whose parents came from a lot of money and they were billionaires and they passed it on to them, and they had this success story. And funny enough, when their sister and their stepfather passed away, I was the first person with them. So just to give you a bit of context, we're very close. We were best mates. I've seen the whole story unfold in front of my eyes, and it's just an amazing story to tell. And then what happened with them was, Brett, we were at school together. Then we went to university. We were at UNISA. And about a year into his studying, he just had this amazing entrepreneurial flair about him. And he started selling car radios or whatever, started making a lot of money in those days. And he was just flourishing. And eventually, as it so happened, he dropped out of university in his third year. He came here to chat to me, and he said, I just don't have the patience. I don't have the inclination, to go finish this BCom degree. I'm really doing well, making a lot of money, and that's the road that I'm going to go down. So I said, well, look, if that's what you want to do, I hear that everybody needs a degree to fall back on in life. But I suppose, you're doing well, you're an entrepreneur, and good luck to you. So what happened was, at the age, it was an amazing story, at the age of about 24, what happened with Brett is that he came up with a concept, a prepaid concept, where you sell prepaid airtime. And in those days, they used to have physical vouchers. So I don't know if you ever recall, if you used to go to an engine garage or whatever and purchase prepaid airtime, you'd get a physical card, you'd open it, you'd type in your number, and you'd load the airtime in your phone on behalf of Vodacom, MTN, and Cell C. So what they did is they controlled the distribution in South Africa. And what happened was, there was a Telkom tender that was put out, and these guys thought, we may as well tender for it. We've got absolutely no chance of winning it. They partnered with a black consortium, and lo and behold, they were actually awarded the tender. So they were in panic stages at the time, because they needed to go and raise 25 million rand. And in those days, they didn't have 50,000 rand to their name. And they went to go talk to a friend who said, I need to introduce you to a family. It was the Ellerine families. I don't know if you've ever heard of Ellerine. They used to own all these furniture stores. Anyway, it was quite a funny story. So they went to go see them. And the story is they both arrived in shorts and a T-shirt. You would have thought they got dressed up in a suit, because they got to go and ask this Ellerine for 25 or 30 million rand. In those days, wow. We're talking probably about, in call it like early 2000s, 25 or 30 million rand is a couple of 100 million rand today. So it was a significant number.
Yeah.
And long story short, obviously the meeting went well. The Ellerines turned around and said, we've had a lot of people come and see us about opportunities. We've never had two brothers arrive in shorts and a T-shirt, but we love your energy, we love the vibe, and we're going to support you. And what happened was they invested, if I recall at the time, was 30 million rand. And along the way, they injected another 150 million rand into the business. And in round about 2018, their share, they call it 200 million rand that they put in, they owned 20% of the company, was worth 4 billion rand. So wow. It's an amazing story where two guys, like I said, who came from difficult times, who actually went to their uncle also, because he talks about it all the time, to borrow 200,000 rand. He ended up getting 3% of the business. And his 200,000 rand, his 3% was actually worth 600 million rand 10 or 12 years later. So what they did, wow. They landed up building in South Africa the biggest distribution company where they sell prepaid airtime and prepaid electricity. So if you go fast track now in 2023, what they do is every game, Dion's, Pick n Pay, Woolies, Engine Garage, Capitec is actually their biggest partner at the moment. But wherever you go buy prepaid airtime or electricity, they control 65% of all the prepaid distribution in South Africa. So like I said, on behalf of Vodacom, MTN, and Cell C, I'll touch on Cell C just now. Although you're actually purchasing that airtime from that network, I don't know if you guys have gone in and you actually purchase airtime, but those machines in the engine garages, as an example, those are their machines. It's their technology. They integrate it into the networks. From a prepaid electricity point of view, they supply 65% of all Eskom's prepaid electricity in South Africa. They work with about 210 different municipalities, and their business is actually, it's a distribution business. So they currently distribute to about 250 or 300,000 outlets in South Africa. And obviously they've got this massive buying power from all of the networks. So the question is, why doesn't a Pick n Pay go directly to the networks? I don't know if you've ever tried to deal with a network. It's not the easiest thing. So what they do is they rather come to Blue Label. Blue Label actually gets the airtime and electricity cheaper because, on average, they do probably about 6 or 7 billion rands worth of turnover a month, where let's call it Pick n Pay might only do 400 million. So Pick n Pay come, they leverage off the infrastructure, the technology that they've developed over many, many years, and their buying power. And it's easier to work with a Blue Label than to go and integrate with a Telkom, a Vodacom, an MTN, and Cell C. So that's their story. Along the way, they set up a business in India. I was actually pretty involved in that business. It was an interesting story. We used to go to India on average 6 or 7 times a year for 6 or 7 years. At a stage, they employed 3,500 people in India. Currently, Blue Label employ about 3,500 or 4,000 people in South Africa themselves. And I suppose, unfortunately, but it may get better, they took a decision at board level about 5 years ago to actually take a stake in Cell C. So they felt that Cell C was a network. It's a third network in South Africa. It was a network that never succeeded. And they believed they could turn it around. And they got overseas partners to come and join them. It hasn't really been a major success story, to be honest with you, over the last 4 or 5 years. It's put the business under a lot of pressure. The market cap of Blue Label in its prime in 2019 was worth 20 billion rand. So these two youngsters who came from nothing built a business worth 20 billion rand. Today it's probably worth 5. So it hasn't been an amazing story over the last 3 or 4 years. And that's only because of Cell C. Cell C, the economy in South Africa, as everybody knows, has been tough over the last 3 to 5 years. Everybody thinks because we all spend money that the networks make a lot of money. They do. But their margins have also come down quite dramatically over the last 3 or 4 years. The consumer's under pressure. So they're busy turning it around. They're busy recapping Cell C again. And I think if we get on this call in 3 years' time, I believe that their market cap will be back at 15 to 20 billion rand. So what I like about the boys, Mark and Brett, is that through good times, they remain the same. They're very, very humble guys. We actually laugh at Brett. I often tell him he's got to go buy another pair of shorts. He can't wear the same pair of shorts that he said. I'm not joking with you, for the last 8 years. So it's quite an amazing story. And through the hard times, they've remained humble and they don't really do it for that. I think it's quite a nice story, and I'm not taking anything away from people whose parents have made money and they have the opportunity. But I think it's very different when you don't come from it. You relate to people very differently, and you understand it and you appreciate it a little bit more. So what I do very quickly, and I'm talking for long. So what happened within the business is in 2003, I got involved with the guys and we started a business. We were part of the listing. Blue Label listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in 2007. Investec were our bankers and they helped us do the listing. And what happened was Mark and Brett asked me to run a specific division within the group, which I currently do today. So we're very focused on call centers. In the call center business, we employ 2,100 people. We've got a call center in Randburg. We're based in Sandton, which is it's about 5 or 10 kilometers from us. The call center actually has capacity for 3,500 people. And we sell products on behalf of 19 different public companies in South Africa, the likes of Old Mutual, Metropolitan Life, Discovery, Absa Bank. So what we do is a lot of data. When I talk about data, I talk about cell numbers, where we actually phone into the existing databases. So Absa will come to us and say, just using examples, I use stupid examples in these forums, but Absa will come and say, yes, 10,000 clients of ours, please phone them and offer them a credit card or give them an upgrade. That's the one instance. And then on the other one, is we also run, and we have the biggest database in South Africa, where we have 25 analysts around South Africa analyzing this information. And what we do is we go give it to our call centers. So some of those aggravating calls that you all get on a daily basis, I hope not all of them come from us, but some of them do. And with all the profiling that we have in the background and the analysts, what we do is we go and sell products on behalf of Metropolitan, Old Mutual, Sanlam. And I found that actually bringing in analytics into your business has made an incredible difference to us. 6 or 7 years ago, it was almost like, here's 100,000 records, go phone and see how it is. And today it's a very refined approach. And Josh, so we're very involved in analytics. As it so happens, I'm in Cape Town once a month for 3 nights. 90% of our staff complement that I run outside of the call center actually are based in Cape Town. So we found that a lot of the guys from Cape Town, from an analytical point of view, they're very strong, and yeah, so that's a bit of a background to where we are today.
Sure, Larry, such an inspiring story. I really love that, and I think I feel like that's the kind of story I can hear over and over again, and I love that he still needs, to go and get a new pair of shorts. But I think what I also love about that is, when we had a previous conversation, it showed me how much focus there is on character and relationship. And I know that even our new world of work, people have focused less and less on saying, okay, a qualification is your entry point. And I'm not dissing qualifications. I think they're important. But it shows how, in this instance, even without that backing, they went in and have done, made an incredible success of the business. And I hear it. So yes, 2003. So that's like 20 years that you've been involved in hiring people for the business. And perhaps you have more experience even beyond those 20 years. But we're really interested to hear a little bit more around how have you gone about hiring people for the organization, and making sure that it's, because call centers even have that reputation, that kind of environment has a reputation for a high staff turnover. Right. So tell us more about that, your approach, please.
So the reason why I gave you a background to the company is our approach is probably a little bit different to other companies. And my starting point is that I'm not sure there's a proper winning formula out there, right? We've had successes and obviously some haven't worked. So what we really, first of all, we've improved in the process. So in 2003 or 2004, 5, how we used to hire people was very different to how we do it today. And what we do is every vertical within Blue Label actually has a different process that they follow. So our call centers in Randburg, I'm not too involved in that. They do have a very high staff turnover. It's a very pressurized environment. We have a team of 5 people within our call center there who try various methods and different approaches and whatever it might be. So from a Blue Label Telecoms head office perspective, what we do and what's worked for us over the last couple of years, and I'll talk about ourselves, is that when we're hiring middle management and top management, is that we have a team of 8 people in HR at Blue Label. We get a CV in like everybody does. We have a look at it. So you're right. I mean, it is important, and I'll talk about degrees and all of that just now. But we have a look at it. If we're happy with it, first port of call is it goes to head office, and they have a 20-step questionnaire that they've developed over the last 6 or 7 years, which is almost, let's call it, their own proprietary list that they go through. They go through an interview process. I'll come and say, Larry, look, we very general. Look, we think this person's good. We understand. They obviously understand what we do in our environment. They believe that this person fits the role. Then what we do is that person will then be passed on to our offices in Cape Town, and we have 2 people who would interview them. How does that interview happen? It's obviously, if they're based in Cape Town, face to face. Otherwise, with Zoom, it's over Zoom. And if they pass that process, then finally I would have a chat to them. And my chat to them is, it's almost along the lines of, I don't even bring their CV out. I don't even, my starting conversation is, look, I've looked at your CV. This isn't an interview. We just have a conversation, and we talk and we chat, and I like to know, tell me about yourself and tell me where you grew up and are you engaged, are you married, have you got kids, and where do you live, and what does it for you and what doesn't. And funny enough, when they pass that stage in Cape Town, it's been quite interesting. I'll tell you, out of 100 people, as an example, that I've been told not to employ, let's call it 60 of the 100 people. They pass stage 1 and pass stage 2, let's say they never pass the criteria. And funny enough, I've actually overridden that decision just by having a one-on-one general chat and actually just connecting with that person and having a good vibe. And what I've done is I also don't like to override the people in our Cape Town office. So I'll tell you what we do, and we've done this, and I don't think everybody can do it, and it's just worked out well for us, is I say to the person, I say, Jane, I'll tell you what we're going to do. You making a massive career decision because you obviously working with company X. If guys aren't, that's fine. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I don't want you to move to Cape Town or move jobs and find out a week or 2 weeks later or a month later that it actually isn't working for you because it's not fair on you and it's not fair on us. Is it possible we either fly you to Cape Town or put you up in a hotel? I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but go and work in our offices for a day or two. Go meet the people, go see the environment, go and understand what we're telling you actually makes sense. And we've never, ever had one person ever say, look, Larry, we can't do that. We don't want to go. Every single person, when we're at that stage, says we'd love to. Some can only do it for a day because they can't get off work for 2 days. And some actually say, fine, we'll go for 2 days. And we've done that. And it's been quite an amazing thing for us, and it's very different. And what we've actually found is that some of the people that I thought would work out failed after the first day, which I was happy about because we didn't have to make that commitment. Some of the people that I was decisive about actually spent today. And then what I do is they go and they sit with kind of like 3 or 4 heads in the department, and they go spend an hour with them. So they mix with them, and then we'll get on to what we talk about culture later. But for me, culture is a massive thing. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are, but if you actually don't fit in that environment, you're not going to be happy and you're not going to get the best out of a person. And then I'll often get a Pierre or a Christelle phoning me and saying, sure, they didn't necessarily interview amazingly well, but they've come into the office and it's worked out. And the people that we've employed in the office, our retention rate has been well over 90% over the last 10 or 12 years, just by putting that in that extra step. And I suppose you can't fly everybody to Cape Town to go spend a day or two, but I'm just saying that's what's worked for us. It's a little bit of a different thought process, and that's it.
No, I mean, I hear you, Larry, saying, it's difficult, can we fly everyone? And some companies might say, sure, that's quite an investment to make before you hire someone. But what I'm also hearing you say with the retention of well over 90%, that investment then is a lot less than you would make if you hired the wrong person.
And it's also very expensive to get rid of them. So you might as well invest in a little bit more early on to make the right decision.
Sure. No, it's a huge cost. And I mean, I always bring that into my workshops, and people see that on average, it costs a company 150% of that person's annual package to hire someone. So if you make the wrong decision, it's really expensive. It's more expensive than getting someone to spend a day or two in an office. So I think it's a really worthwhile investment. And it is, as you say, interesting to see that maybe the person who didn't show up at CV or interview stage shows up quite differently at that stage. And I like what you, tell us more.
I don't know. So I think it is interesting for everyone. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming most of you are working and you're going into interviews, but I think in today's time, and I think we would all agree, things have changed. People have changed. If you're looking at that process that you were in 2003 and you're not doing things differently, well, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on the downside. And I think in today's time, like I said, that's why I actually mentioned, there was a reason why I mentioned Brett. And I'm not saying don't get a degree or it's not important, but, when we look at people, maybe just because of the Blue Label story and the success of it, what I'm saying is I'm not overly fixated on people who have got degrees. Often you have somebody who comes, I can't even pronounce or spell the degrees that they've got. And it just doesn't necessarily work out. So again, it's. I think when you go into that interview process, everybody's nervous for it. I'm a little bit nervous even for that person coming into the process, because I can feel it. And what I try to do at the beginning is, the first thing I do is chill. I've been on the other side, just whatever. I have a whiskey and relax, or whatever it is. This is not an interview. Literally, let's just have a chat. Ask me questions, whatever you want. Ask me about my life. I'll tell you about yours, and let's just engage and have a chat. And
yeah, I like that reminder that you're sharing with them that you're human. You've been on the other side. You've frozen for me, Larry, so you might come back speaking in the middle of a sentence while I'm speaking at this stage. I don't know if it's me who froze off.
oh, sorry, you
Oh,
cut
there you
out.
are. You're back. You're back.
Okay.
So we lost you a little earlier, but I was saying I like that you remind them that you're human. You say, I've also been on the side you're on, so that you normalize it. It's not that huge top-down power play that some interviewers still try to play.
Yeah, listen, I think at the end of the day, can you hear me? Sorry, am I clear? Okay, good. Sorry. I think at the end of the day, everybody, well, I suppose people who are on this call, everybody strives to be successful. And a lot of people who come to Blue Label, who want to meet Mark and Brett, they look at them very differently. I suppose my approach, and what's been nice for us is again, I said it, just by pure default, and we got lucky that two of my mates who I grew up with just landed up becoming, in my opinion, two of very close to one of the most successful business people in South Africa. So I don't look at them the way other people do. I have a lot of respect for them, and we have the most incredible friendship and relationship and business partnership. But I've just taken their learnings, and we've got a very, very unique culture in our group. We're pretty big drinkers. We celebrate the wins all the time. We've got a tradition at Blue Label, and upstairs in the executive room, every single deal that Mark and Brett did over the last 20 years, a meaningful deal. So let's assume there's probably, if I had to guess, about 250 Blue Label bottles. And what we do when we celebrate something nice, we go into the boardroom, we open up a bottle of Blue Label, which, by the way, is one of the worst tasting whiskies ever. I don't enjoy it. And what we do is we finish the bottle, if there are 4 of us or 8 of us or 10 of us, and we take a Cokie and we write what the deal is. So we write there, just did a deal with Jane, opened up a call center in Cape Town, 250 people. We write the date, and every single person signs it. So what we do is we've got a story for every deal that we've done. And all of our boardrooms, we've got about 15 different boardrooms. And a lot of the boardrooms, like one of them is called Oxygen, the deal that we did in India, as an example. So they're very, very fixated on celebrating and enjoying life. And yeah, so
I love that celebration. And there's like a story to everything. Those things won't be forgotten. And it's people in the moment connecting, celebrating. And Larry, I think something else that I really love about what you're sharing is there's a concern these days, thankfully, more so about the candidate experience. And before, recruitment was very top down, and it was, I'll sit back and choose who I want to hire. And then people wisened up around the war for talent and through the great resignation and scarce skills, and thought, sure, you know what? There's actually people out there that companies are fighting over, because the best people are going to be in the companies that succeed in the future. We need those people. And what I really like is it's not just Blue Label assessing, does this person fit in, but it also gives the candidate that chance to say, should I resign? As you say, you're telling them before you resign, go and look at our Cape Town office. So that person really has a chance to think through their career and where they want to invest. And I really love that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I said, I mean, listen, we all talk about it, but COVID did come and change the way we all think and operate. And if you think that it didn't, well, I think that you're wrong. So what we found also, which is quite interesting, and there's a lot of surveys that we've done, is that, when my opinion is 10 years ago, when people came, a lot of people would move. Let's assume that your cost to company was 30,000 Rand as an example. A lot of people would move for 33 or 35 or 36. What we're finding today is people are moving more for flexibility. People are wanting a different approach, so, and people, the way we're retaining people, and that's why the interviews, and I say, look, just let's have a frank discussion, because 3 years ago, not that we don't operate like this, it was never an 8 to 5. And I mean, you're welcome to chat to every single person in our Cape Town office. It's simple. They know with me. I actually don't care. I'm talking pre-COVID. Get to work at 10 and you're welcome to leave at 3. I really don't mind. It's simple. Just know that you've got a job to do and get it done. So what's happened is that we've had a culture. I know it sounds mad. Sometimes on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, I'm just like that. Saturday, Sunday, I can get up. I'm on the email because I think about something. And 9 out of 10 times within 10 minutes, I'll get a reply from the people within the office. Not because they have to, just because of the flexibility that we've given them during the week, that they actually want to. And they're happy, and we're all online, so they're happy to be online. They enjoy it, they're connected. And, we've had two kind of examples. I'll just tell you, we had somebody actually just sits outside my office here. He, during COVID, obviously he was working from home. And then when we came back, no one was really sure of, does everybody work at home? Do they come back? And how do you do it? And the banks, everybody was at home. And what's the right mix? And so we kind of, we had an approach. And as time went on, we wanted everybody back at the office because I just thought that they're more productive. And some people actually were trying to fight it and say, look, Larry, we actually feel that we're more productive. I said, I'll tell you what, no problem. So let's just have a mixed approach. Who wants to be at the office? This particular person sitting here couldn't stand being at home. He actually couldn't wait to get back to the office because he was more productive. And some people actually came with a mix. It's like 3 days at the office and 2 at home. And I'm quite comfortable with that because they're getting it done. And if you actually sit and listen to them, the amount of time, and I'll talk about call centers, that people spend in the car, especially Cape Town with the traffic. But with the amount of time that people spend in a car, what I'm trying to say, those 2 hours or 2.5 hours a day, if you discipline, could be so much better spent in a productive environment, and you can get more out of people. So again, it comes back to that flexibility, not you have to be at work at 8 and you will leave at 5. I can't stand that approach. It doesn't work with me. And again, because we're from such an entrepreneurial company and background and what the guys have done, and I'm not saying we're right or wrong, it's our mindset, in terms of our question is very simply, how do you get the best out of people? Right. Yeah. So another example, and I'm going on and I'm diverting from your question. When I go to Cape Town, I'll tell you what I do, is that we have 15 core people in our business. I'm in Cape Town for 3 days and 3 nights. I like to go to for a couple of the nights, and one night we entertain clients. But what I also like to do in Cape Town is I like to have literally just 15 minutes with each person. So what we do is we go book at our hotel. I get them out of the office. I actually don't go to the office. I don't think they too happy about that. Don't mention it to them again. But I literally haven't been to offices for a couple of years, only because what we do is I like to get them outside of the office environment. We go meet in a nice hotel. It's beautiful. We book out a hotel there for a couple of days. We work from 8 to 6. And in between our breaks, I go sit down with, call it a Christelle that comes to mind. And it's a 10 or 15 minute chat. It's got nothing to do with work. It's how's your daughter? How's your horse riding going? She loves horse riding. How's the daughter and what's happening and how competition's going? And so I try and engage on that kind of level. And I found if you do, also just brings the best out of people, and you realize that they're human and we're human, and I've got my own personal issues. And although we might be more successful in business, doesn't make you a better person in that. That I can tell you. I've seen a Blue Label over the last 15 years. Many people with amazing ideas come. Some of them have made money, they haven't. But at the end of the day, we're all humans. I'd never, ever, I know I've got a title and I'd like to change it, but it happened in the board meeting 15 years ago where our chairman actually gave it to us. And I've just kept it ever since. But I'm actually not a titled person, believe it or not. We run quite a flat structure, and maybe it's come with age. I'm not giving my age away. But at the end of the day, I never, ever, ever look at somebody differently because they succeeded or made money, or somebody who's sitting in an interview who's desperate for a job because they need to earn a salary. I just look at an individual and I engage with them on whatever level that is.
Oh, I love that, Larry. And I think a lot of people in this call are appreciating that. And I can see from the things people are sharing that is so key for people as individuals. And I think with that human approach, I think the word that comes to mind for me as I'm listening to you is trust. And that's so much what people are after, because when they're trusted, there's books written about it, the speed of trust, but people work faster, they work better. They don't feel afraid to make mistakes. They're happy to be transparent and learn and move on. And so I really love the culture of trust that you create and the respect that you have for each person as a human being. And I think it also leads to what Olivia also shared. I echo her, managing the output, that with that trust and that flexibility, you're more concerned about what are people achieving, not so concerned about how they get there. And a lot of candidates, top talent, people are saying that's what they want. That's the environment that they want. That's the most productive way to work, especially post-COVID. People are realizing that. So I really do appreciate what you're sharing.
It's interesting. Sorry, just to jump in when you mentioned the word trust. So this particular person who sits outside my office now, keep on referring to him, I really wanted him in our business. I mean, he understood our business well. He was astute. It's funny how life works. When you want someone, you can't get them. When you don't want someone, there's lots of them around. So what I actually did with him, because we were talking about salaries and bonuses and different hurdles, and I kind of said, listen, I'm not quite sure I actually believe what you're telling me. So I said, well, there is only one way. Get on a plane, go to Cape Town, go and sit down with the people there and go and ask them their experience over the last 8 or 10 years. And if we've ever not delivered on what we said and what we did, blah, blah, and they got it over the line. So when he came back, he said, well, listen, you know what, I know that you didn't fix the meetings up there. I had a chat to everybody. I sat down and that's what I'm saying. So you can sit in, when you want somebody in the business, also you can go tell them what they want to hear with respect. I mean, they might have a lot of different options. And if that's the case, it's not going to last very long. So it's very simple. Listen, been around for X amount of years. We've retained 93 or 94% of the people in the business. So the guys have been with us for 13, 14, 15 years. Go and have a chat to them and let them, I don't want to let them go tell you about it. So where you've got to be careful is that people do talk in offices and more than we think. And ultimately, if you've been good to the people within your business and you've being a man of your word, if I can say that, well, obviously then they ultimately help you get that person over the line.
Yeah, I love, Larry, that you said, this person had to go in didn't have to, but went and engaged in meetings and conversations that you couldn't have controlled or set up or written scripts for. And we see 4 out of 5 candidates assessing and judging a company's culture by their experience with the person who's in the hiring process, whether it's the interviewer or other people in the recruitment process. And it's clear to me that when people engage with your business, they really get a feel for who you are and how things are done there. And it's attractive because it's not all set up and scripted. It's transparent. It's come and see. People have moved so far away from looking at the fancy website and being impressed by this list of values that's there. They really want to know, you say those are your values, but how do you actually do things?
Right.
So I love that you're giving people that window to experience it for themselves.
Yeah, I saw that Olivia comment there about people, they only leave bad companies or whatever they leave if you're a bad leader. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with that comment. I mean, it's exactly what we stand by. And it's quite interesting because if you even have a look at our company we listed, we actually it's in the public domain now, so that's why I'm talking about it. But we even considering actually almost delisting from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, because I mean it's been good for us. But I think actually, if any of you are ever in Joburg, I don't know where you're all based and anybody ever wants to come here, but I mean, when you come into the offices and you feel the vibe and the energy, it's a little bit of a misfit to actually be listed, if I can put it that way, just because of our culture and the way we do things. It's been good for us and it's helped us attract money and banks or whatever. But I think maybe one day it could be on the cards where the guys actually delist. And the reason why they would do that is not for good or bad, we've just had a different way of doing things. And when you talk about culture, you almost have to find a formula that works and just stick with it, and that's how it is.
So Larry, we've mentioned, there's trust, there's flexibility, there's this human-centeredness, there's transparency, there's celebration. Are there any other words that we haven't used that you would use to describe the culture there and how you do things?
I suppose a word that you didn't mention, because you kind of mentioned all of them, is loyalty. So and when I'm talking, and I don't know if any of you have heard of Blue Label, but I'm saying if you have and you chat to people, again, I think that we are just very loyal people. I tell I'm from Joburg. I'll just give you the kind of personalities that we are. I'm from Joburg. I grew up in Joburg. I've had the same mates for X amount of years. We've had the same offices. We just kind of like stick in our mold. We do what we do. So we're loyal. So again, people who come here, when I say to somebody, just when you come here, if you have the intention of coming for 3 or 4, 5 or 6 or 7 years, tell me right now, because I don't want to waste your time or my time. But if you want to come to this company and you want to retire here, you're talking to the right person, because you don't have to look anywhere else. And if you succeed here, you will do well, you will grow the ladder, you'll do whatever you have to do. And the bottom line is we loyal people, and we stand by that. And I suppose if you have a look at Blue Label, that's why it's not just prepaid airtime and electricity. There's a lot of other businesses. There's probably 18 or 20 different CEOs within the business that they've obviously helped develop because of that. And of the CEOs that had if I look back over the last 20 years, we probably had 3 or 4 leave. And I think half of them were probably to immigration anyway, or sometimes it doesn't work and you get a better opportunity. That's life.
No, sure. Loyalty is an interesting one, Larry, because I don't think it's something you can tell people. You have to be loyal. And if you join our company, you have to be loyal. I think loyalty is such a natural outcome of a culture that you create. And from what you've described, I think it's no wonder that people are loyal, because they love being part of that family. And I think when PwC did their research in 2018 about what makes people stay, one of them was a family feel, and not family necessarily as you have to be best friends with everyone, but just that feeling of I can be myself. I'm not going to be judged. We can be innovative. I can come up with ideas. We can work together. And it seems like you've really created that within the organization right from the hiring process. It's not like you hire one way and they get into the organization and, oh my goodness, this is so different. What have I signed up for? You really engage people in how things are done around here from the start. So Larry, unless there's anything you want to add, I'd love to open it up for questions and comments. Is there anything you want to add before I do that? Any tips, any last points?
Look, I think I've said a lot. It's been a bit of a mouthful from my side.
Loved it.
My take on it is, Mfundo, who's let's call it my assistant, who kind of like runs my life and does I can't live without her. I think she's on the line. I better be careful what I say, but just now she'll come ask me for more money. I'm joking. But I mean, her story was an amazing one, right? And I think if I can leave you all with this thought, is Mfundo used to work in our call center 3 years ago. And I had a personal assistant who helps me run my day-to-day life and all of the meetings and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she became ill and she ended up passing away a couple of years ago. So somebody else in my office said, I spent a bit of time in this call center, and this girl called Mfundo. I think that you should consider her, becoming your personal assistant and running everything. And said, look, I'm not the easiest. Like in those kind of things, I'm quite demanding, and it's a big story, and it's this trip and that. And anyway, I said, just trust me. I've been working with her in the call center. Give it a bash. I said, all right, let's give it a bash. I recall in the first week, I don't know if I've told her this, maybe she's listening, is I nearly fired her 100 times a day for the first week. It was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And today, fast forward 2 years, that it's probably one of the most amazing stories at Blue Label. That never mind that she succeeded, but she has come so far in her career.
Wow.
When I tell you that somebody had to ask me who's the most important person in my life, it's Mfundo, because she just does everything. She's amazing with our clients and our partners. She knows how to interact with them. And the guys at Blue Label, Mark and Brett, know the story. So what I'm saying is, if I have a look at a story like that, what I'm saying is always have hope. Never look at yourself that where you are in your life and what kind of position that you are in. Mfundo's, whatever she was earning, it's times 6 or 7 or 8 in the last 2 years. And just add value to somebody. Just go be yourself, add value. Because when you do, let me tell you, that person will want you in your life and they'll never want you to leave. And, and Mfundo will tell you. I'm saying it's about connecting. Often, she might come in as an example. We all have bad days and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I say, do me a favor, pack your bags, get in your car, go home, and I will see you tomorrow. I don't want to hear, I can just see it's one of those and whatever it is. So it's also, it's just about connecting with somebody and being yourself. And then you just, that's when they reply on the Saturdays and Sundays and they go the extra mile for you. So, in closing, what I'm saying is back yourself. If you go to an interview, I promise you along the way, we've turned down many people and they've turned out to be the most successful people in other businesses. So don't get down about somebody going and choosing somebody else. That's the worst thing you can do. I'm telling you, in Blue Label, I actually get cold shivers when I talk. They've had 100 opportunities come to them. Let's assume that they've taken 30. Of the 30, only 20 or 25% of them are successful. And I can tell you that there's another 30 or 40 that they turned down, where guys have gone and built billion-rand businesses. So you can't get it right all the time, and you're not going to get it right all the time. You've got to have a look at the whole. When you look back 5 or 10 or 15 years later and say, overall, we made good and bad decisions, and you're not going to win all of them, and not every business makes money, and it's just part of it. So what I'm saying is, there's no one formula that works. Don't let somebody kick you down. And I myself went for many interviews myself, and I didn't get the job. It happens. So what I'm saying, don't be too hard on yourself. Just remain positive. Carry on moving forward. A friend of mine who I actually don't particularly like had an amazing saying. And he said, the more no's you get, you're getting closer to a yes. So my closing statement.
Oh, thank you, Larry. Love that. And I love your message of hope. That's very close to my heart. And I think all of us need hope. And as you're saying, it's not, one size fits all, one person for every, there's a best fit. Who's the best fit for you? And so both ways round. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. Thank you so much for being real and human in this call. You really, you are what you say. You've got this fancy title and, all of this responsibility, but you're just so down to earth and so easy to talk to and connect with. So thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. For sharing this time.
Thank you.
Really is very precious.
Thanks for everybody for taking the time. I hope it was insightful. I mean, I didn't exactly plan what I was going to say, so I really appreciate it. I mean, it's
You
nice to
didn't
have an
have to.
audience.
You're being real.